with the lesson in just a moment. All right, so hopefully you guys were able to get into the room okay and find the sentence stories warm up. I'm going to have these for you guys every time that we meet. Today I'm going to work it over with you guys a little bit to tell you what's going on so you know what's happening. Excuse me, so you know what's happening. And then next time you'll just jump right into doing this warm up. And they're going to get a little more involved as we go on, a little less hand holding as we go throughout the semester. So I said here that every sentence must have at least one subject and one action. And that's pretty obvious. You learn that when you're very young in elementary school, that you have to have a noun and a verb in a sentence. We've talked about this before. But once you've established that your sentence, in fact, has these things and is a complete sentence, then you are able to expand your sentences and actually make them extremely interesting and fun and directed towards what you want them to actually say. So when I look at a sentence, when I read a sentence and I think, wow, that's an amazing sentence, I like to go back and figure out why. What about it tells a story? What's the cool story behind that sentence? And I found this one from Mays, which I think is really neat. He says, "The uncertainty of visitors is one of my little pleasures." And that's a really neat sentence. And when we start to break it down, it becomes, I think, even more interesting. So raise your hand if you can tell me what you think the verb or the action of this sentence is. Any takers? All right, so the main verb, if you guys try to find it on your own before I give it away to you, is actually not what we consider a typical action word. It's a being verb, it's a state of being, and that verb is. So is the verb. Something is something else, and it's a state of being, like an I am verb. So I am teaching. Am is what I am doing. You are bored. What are you? You're bored. So are being the condition that you are under. If that is the verb, then we have to have a subject, something that is, ising, or is the is. And that would be, any takers on what that is? All right, chatty group today. So that is going to be the uncertainty of visitors is going to be our subject. So the uncertainty of visitors is one of my little pleasures. So this is something else. Now, this is a really fun sentence in the sense that you can manipulate the sentence, you can model after the sentence and use it as your own. So I want you to write your own sentence, keeping the same format, and I want you to keep the words that I put here in the box, but change everything else. So the blank is one of blank, and you guys can put whatever you want here. It can be funny, it can be absurd, it can be true, it can be about you, it can be about somebody else, it can be completely made up. Go ahead and write a sentence right now that does that, and I will write one as well. All right, so my sentence says, "The thought of a silent class is one of my greatest pains." I've kept the structure of the sentence as the original, and I've just manipulated it, and I've added my own flavor to it. It also tells a really cool story here. The thought of a silent class is one of my greatest pains. Now, why is it one of my greatest pains, and why would I be talking about this? am I going to dig into this deeper? Is my next sentence that I write going to detail this? Is it going to continue on with this thought? Is this the good start of a story, or is it kind of boring? I kind of think that this one's not as good as my last one. The last sentence that I wrote, I felt like had more of a story. And the last sentence that I wrote, let me just turn to it, was the sound of rain is one of my worst fears. And I thought that was a really cool idea. You could start a story with that. Now, that is not true. I am not scared of the sound of rain, but if I were to write a story, I feel like this would be a really good character trait or detail, and then we could expand on this. So in both of these sentences that I wrote, you see that there is something clearly going on that is meant to be communicated to us. This person is afraid of the sound of rain, and this person does not like a silent class. Both of these details or these stories are conveyed to us very clearly. So when we are writing sentences, whether it's for a story that you're writing or for a short answer question to an assignment in science or history or an essay for English, you need to think about each sentence clearly getting its point across. Now, the cool thing with this is you can continue on with this kind of sentence borrowing. You can take an entire chapter or a paragraph or even a book, and you can rewrite your own story based on the style. This is one of the best ways to become a stronger writer, is to write more and more using what other authors have already written. This is how you get good at things. If you want to get really good at something like playing an instrument or a sport, sitting in your room alone or practicing alone is not going to make you the best. Sure, you're going to get better, but one of the best things for you to do would be to be around people that are already really good and emulate what they're doing. And that's what I want you guys to do with your writing. So on the IS sheet, and each time we meet in class, I'm going to have work for you guys to do with this sentence manipulation, so that you guys are learning how to write sentences in a new way. And this is going to greatly help you for next semester. All right, any questions on that? Cool, all right. So we're gonna jump into Maze then and talk about Maze a little bit. And the idea behind this is being our last novel or piece of text for the semester. So with Maze, what I've asked you guys to do is make some notes and work your way through the book and take notes. And you might be thinking that you don't really know what to do yet, because I just put the information for Maze online for you guys yesterday. I see that some of you guys own the book, and it looks like some of you just recently bought the book, and that's awesome. It's super fun. It's a really good book to do, if you just, let's say you have a little bit of time and you don't really want to think about a whole lot, but you want to play a little game. It's pretty fun. So I'm going to be sending these rooms out to you guys little by little. So you don't need to have the book by any means. The book is fun and cool, but I'm also going to be taking some pictures and putting them online for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Maze map here, and you're going to see a little bit of information from a last period, and so we will do something similar for you guys. I'm going to switch over from my notes really quickly into the actual text. All right, so you guys are seeing here the prologue to the story, and there are a lot of different levels to this story. It's really, I feel like, a work of genius. The mind of the guy that created this is just insane. So we can just work our way through the maze and just randomly guess and try to go from room to room and get to room 45 and get our way back out just by guessing, and that's fun. It's fun, and it's just kind of a neat little game to play. But there's a lot deeper meaning that you can go into here. If you take a look at the prologue, you see that partway down in the prologue, you have a name here, Cerberus. He says that they should call me Cerberus. I am the lesson. Does anybody know who Cerberus is? Anybody hear that name before?
It kind of sounds something like Greek.
Good. Yeah, it's from Greek mythology. Cerberus is the three-headed hellhound, basically the protector of or the muscle of the underworld.
He's Hades' dog.
Hades' dog. Yeah. So it's, that's a nice way of putting it. It's Hades, a nice little puppy dog. Another way of putting it is the protector of the underworld or the muscle of the underworld. And you've seen this show up in other stories as well. You've probably seen it show up in Percy Jackson. It shows up in Harry Potter. There are lots of different iterations or versions of this idea. But the three-headed hellhound, I think, is a good way to look at this character. Because as you read through Maze, you can see that the architect, or the host, if we want to call him the host, is a little bit manipulative. And he's also kind of holding these characters hostage in this maze. And I don't mean that in like a sinister way. I just mean that he's guiding them through and he knows the way out, but he won't tell them. And that's kind of the fun of it, is dealing with his riddles. So as we go through the story, you're going to see lots of references to mythology, to literature, to music, all kinds of things that are going on in the text that you might not normally think about. I want you to think about those things. And anytime you see something pop up like this, like Cerberus, look the name up, figure out what it means. You don't have to look it up in relation to maze. Like you don't have to type in Cerberus maze, because it's going to give you some other stuff. But you would want to just maybe look up Cerberus and figure out what it means. And that's something that you want to keep in mind. Now, moving through to the first page of the story, you guys are met with these 4 rooms that you can choose from: 20, 26, 41, and 21. Let's use a room. Let's not use 41 because I already went there with my other students. Let's choose another one. Do you guys have a room? Someone throw a room out there for me.
I have an idea.
All right, what do you have?
Cerberus has 3 heads. The only room whose number is a multiple of 3 is 21.
Very cool. All right, so that would be something that you would want to write down as like your guess, right? You're like saying like 3 heads, multiple of 3, 21. You're digging into some mathematical theory here. It's really neat. So you're thinking, all right, I'll go to room 21. So what you would do then, and I'm going to switch back to my maze map. I'll do a new share here to our map. We would say, okay, we want to go to 21. So in order to map this out, I'm going to draw a line from 1 to 21. And I'm going to draw some arrows here that tell me that this is the direction that I am going. And eventually I'll end up with all kinds of lines around here. And you might want to write down some information about 21. You might want to write down maybe what the room looks like, and we'll go to that room right now. So let me just find it for you, and then I will switch back to it. All right, so we are now in room 21, and we see that this is what it looks like. It is an outside room, and we can go from 21, we can go to 44, 24, and 31. You can see that there's a room that's covered by the tree here. That is not a room that you can go to because you don't know what number it leads to. So it's being blocked. And there's going to be rooms like that throughout the maze that are blocked that you can't go into. So you have to follow the rules of the book. So you would then choose from here, and then you would go back to your map and you would decide which way you want to go. Now that's level 1. That's just kind of like guessing your way through the rooms. Now, Hugh did make a very good educated guess based on something in the story, but you might just randomly guess through. So I'll go back here to my notes and show you how this works for the actual notes that you have to take. So in our notebook, under the path or the route, I'm just going to erase this from last period. Since we can go to all of these rooms and we chose to go to 21, 21 then becomes the next room that we can write down to go to. And from here, we can go to 44, 24, or 31. And so those are the rooms that we could choose from. I'm leaving some space here for notes on room 1 in case I want to write some notes down. And then here you would write down some notes for room 21, and then you would go to your next room. So you're going to have kind of your path here that you're following, and you're going to see where you could have gone instead. So let's say that you hit a dead end somewhere down here. Let's say that you end up in a room that's a dead end, and you're then able to look at your notes and trace your way back and figure out where you went wrong. And you're also going to be able to start to put together some sort of a story that goes along with this as to why you're choosing the rooms that you choose. And remember, this book has a riddle. If you follow the rooms correctly, a riddle builds up from room 1 to 45, and then you can use that riddle to find your way back out. Another way of doing this would be to take a sheet of paper, and you're going to probably have multiple note pages for this, but you would simply write down from room 1, you could go to room 20, 21, 26, and 41. We have chosen room 21, and then from there, you can go to room 44, 24, or 31, and then let's say that you chose 31, and then from 31, you have multiple rooms that you can go to. So this week, I'm going to post today. I'm going to post for you guys room 20, 21, 26, and 41, and then I'm going to take pictures of all these other rooms. But keep in mind, it's going to take me some time because I have to take pictures of 4 rooms off of each of these. So I'm going to have 16 more rooms that I post by Friday for you that you'll start to work your way through. I'm going to make a forum on Jupyter grades for you so that you guys can discuss what's going on in these rooms. This is not going to be a forum for you guys to say, hey, go to this room. I worked through the maze and I know the answer. It's going to be a place for you guys to say, hey, what if we look at this? Or did you notice this symbol in this room? Or does anyone know what this means? For example, in room 41, if we go to look at that, you can see that there is a little image over here on the side, right over here. And you might not know what that is. And this would be a good time to either look something up or ask on the message board on Jupyter grades, what is this symbol next to room 44 on page 21? So you guys can work your way through like that. So you're going to be keeping track of any note taking, any theory that you can come up with as far as why you're working through these rooms in the way that you are, or any running myth or any running story or riddle that you can come up with as well. And I really like that in the chat someone wrote the word yarn, tale, and story are all in this little story bit, meaning the words on the left side. And you guys are going to see that there is a connection between what's in the text and what's in the image. You can work your way through the text by just using the image, but the text makes it a lot better. All right, any questions on that? Okay, so now that we've kind of established what we are looking at and what we're doing with maze, you're going to be able to start going a little bit quicker now. On the IS sheet, I'm going to have posted some things that I want you to do in your notes, things I want you to pay attention to and look for. And there's a video that I've already made. I'm going to have you guys watch that today. It'll show up on the IS sheet. Some of you might have already seen it. And it's going to talk to you guys about how I'm going to grade this. I am going to be grading this based on your note taking, not based on your expertise in getting through the maze. I'm not concerned with you guys reaching the end or finding your way back. I'm more concerned with the journey that you go on and how you note that down, how you annotate it. All right, any final questions before we sign off? I feel like we went a little bit quick today, but we've covered everything we need. So anything else you guys want to talk about? Excellent. All right, so email me any questions. Look for the new IS sheet for this week to be posted sometime today, hopefully, between 12 and 1, maybe a little bit earlier. And I will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.